If you can't be consistent with it for 10 years, you're wasting your time. Shiny object syndrome stops millions of people from seeing the progress that they want in life. And really, there's plenty of reasons for it. Fear of failure, procrastination, loving busyness instead of effectiveness, ADHD, low attention span, literally being human. There's only one solution though, and that's to cut it out. Choose something that you can stick with for 10 years, and there's really only one criteria for that. It's that you kind of like it and can grow to love it. If it's business related, it should probably also make you money. After you've picked it, stick with it. After a year, it gets easier. After 5 years, even easier. 10 years, it gets even easier to be consistent. And this will decrease pressure from expectations, jumpstart progress, and lead to a better life overall. Now you might be sitting there and thinking, okay, you're telling me drop shiny object syndrome, you're telling me to stick with something for 10 years, but what does it really look like to stick with something for 10 years? 3 months in, it sucks. You haven't seen any progress. You're not getting where you want to be. And, if you're 18, 19, 20 years old, 3 months is a long time. I'm 24 and 3 months is a long time. I'm thinking like, in 3 months I want these results so that my life can look better. Because, let's see, if I'm 24 years old, times 10 is 240 times 2 more, 48. So I've lived 288 months and some change, probably 293 months at this point. Hopefully I did that math right. So if I've lived 293 months, 3 months is more than 1% of my life. But when you think about it, I've really only lived, I'm 24, probably 6 years is what I'm counting for my adulthood, right? And 6 times 12, now that's 72. So now 3 months is like 3.5% of my time. Okay, but really I've only lived 2 years as a functioning adult that is trying to go after dreams and goals, right? Where I really made the decision to change my life. That only happened 2 years ago. That's 24 months. So now an eighth of my time, 3 months is an eighth of my time as a fully functioning adult going after dreams and goals. It's it's a lot of time. It's 3.5%, 1/33 of my time. If I'm going after just adulthood, and then it's 1% of my life, just my life as a whole. And so 3 months can be a lot of time if you're 24. It's a lot of time if you're 28, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. 3 months starts to seem like less and less because you've had more time as an adult, and time flows just differently when you kind of get out of college and stuff. But what I will say is that 3 months into a 10-year commitment, you probably haven't seen any results. A year into a 10-year commitment, you probably haven't seen any results. 2 years in to a 10-year commitment, you still might not see any results that are tangible. You may have grown a lot as an individual, but you might not see any results. So how do you deal with the emotional pain of staying the course? And for me, that emotional pain comes from expectations. And the way that you deal with it is by truly expanding your time horizon. Because when you're not expecting anything to happen for 10 years, when you're gauging success based on a 10-year timeline, you really shouldn't start getting worried until year 6, year 7, year 8. Because that's when stuff starts to compound. So if you're 8 years into a 10-year commitment and it hasn't compounded even a little, now you should start getting worried. 2 or 3 years, people podcast for 2 or 3 years before they see anything. They work out for 2 or 3 years and, you've seen some progress, but it may not be the most tangible progress in the world, especially if you weren't doing it to the best of your ability because you didn't know what the best of your ability was. So really, dealing with that emotional pain of staying the course is expanding that time horizon because it'll help you drop expectations. And when you can drop expectations, there shouldn't be a disconnect between what you expect and reality, which means there's no room for emotional pain to be there. Because in my head, it's like I'm expecting one thing, I don't get it, I feel let down. That's where emotional pain comes in. If you're not expecting anything, you can accept reality. And when you can accept reality, you can stay the course. So by expanding your time horizon to not expecting anything until year 8, if you're in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, there's no reason to be sweating at all. Year 7, you might start sweating a little bit. Year 8, But by year 8, if you stayed consistent for 10 years, or for 8 years, you've probably grown enough to at least lean back on the skills you've developed in the pursuit of success. Maybe there needs to be a pivot, maybe there needs to be strategy change, maybe this, maybe that, but you've definitely grown enough to start to pivot. And so I would say deal with the emotional pain by dropping expectations, and drop expectations by literally expecting nothing, and literally expect nothing by expanding your time horizon. And that should dissipate all emotional pain until you're too far into the progress to then care about the reality of it. Now you're doing it for the craft of it and for actually getting better. So the next question you might ask is, what if I pick the wrong thing? So I commit 10 years of my life, and right now 10 years of my life is almost half of the time I've been alive. And if I'm committing that long to something, what if I pick the wrong thing? Well, A, if it is half of your life, you're probably really young. And B, if it's not half of your life, you probably don't see 10 years as long a time. But regardless, most people only live 10 years 8 times, 8 to 10 times. So you really have, in your adult life, prime working time, you probably have 2 to 4 things you can pick that you can really get good at, that you can really pick. So I would say, drop your expectations here too. Forget about picking the wrong thing. Pick something that A, you love, and B, can provide you cash if it's a business thing. Those should be the only criteria. And really, if you love something, most likely it can be of service to somebody. If you're world class at something, it's probably able to be of service. And I would really look at art. Like, art provides a lot of value to a lot of people, and they pay an expensive amount for it. Music, the arts, those aren't immediately, valuable in our economy, but entertainment is something people will pay for. So when you get really good at something, at the least you can entertain people, especially with how social media is today. So I wouldn't worry about picking the wrong thing. I would worry about getting world class at it first. And if you're really worried, see what the world class people who are doing the thing you're doing, see how they're living. And if you can live like that, then be like, okay, I'll take the time to get world class at this. But also remember this. This is just biblical. Your gift makes room for you. So if you have a gift and you work diligently at it, people will appreciate you working in your element, because I'm telling you, the true thing people love, the true thing we look for is, it's such a human thing. It's like peak performance isn't just excellence, but it's like being in the craft and seeing somebody truly love and enjoy the craft that they're doing. There's just something more to it when it's like, oh yeah, they're fantastic at it, and they love it, and you see the hours they put in, and you see the emotion. You see a human fully enveloped in something. That's an experience that provides more than just seeing somebody who's really good at something. And so when you pick a gift that will make room for you, and you get great at it, world class at it, and you love it, it takes the experience to the next level. And so people will see you and they will want to help you. Because I just think it's a human thing. Maybe that's me being naive, but I've seen it happen, right? Like, I love watching sports just because I love watching people play in their element and be like, dang, I know he's put in 20 years of work for that. So, pick the wrong thing. We went over that. How you deal with the emotional pain. Drop expectations. Drop expectations. And how quickly should you see progress? Reframe expectations. And so what this really looks like is, what is progress? Is progress you had a day where you legitimately tried your best? Is progress you had a day where you followed through on your commitment of 3 hours to that task? Those are some of the things you can start to gauge progress on, and you can start seeing progress tomorrow. Because leading indicators versus lagging indicators. Lagging indicators are results. Leading indicators are the actions that lead to results. You can start measuring those actions and say progress is when I complete X number of actions. And so if I can complete X number of actions today, then I have made progress. I think that is like, you can start to define, okay, say I need to learn to play the piano. I want to be a master at the piano, or I want to be a grandmaster at chess. I probably need to put in X number of hours training like this. And so then when you find yourself training like that for 1 hour today, you have made progress, because you only need to clock in 20,000 hours training like that to be where you want to be. So 1 out of 20,000 hours, you've made a little bit of progress. So you can track progress like that, or you could track progress based on milestones of like completing a piece, but that's more of a lagging indicator. You really want to track it based on the leading indicators, and you start to see progress immediately. And then you can start to reinforce yourself from that progress. So that's what we got for you guys today on the show. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you on the next one. And remember, we are a community of people judged not by our wealth, but by our impact.